Welcome everybody to today's reading. So it's apparent that Spirit is basically having me start a daily message. I'm not sure if we're totally going to keep up with it being daily or if it's something that will kind of turn out to be like every second day or something like that. So we'll kind of see what comes of it. But at the moment, this is what I'm being told, that it's a daily message, right? So the first thing that I was kind of getting before I actually while I was kind of setting up for this, I kind of got the push, like the message, yeah, we're doing a daily message. And the theme seems to be around, I guess, how different people practice different, like their spirituality. Like it's a very personal practice and it kind of doesn't really matter what it looks like to you as long as it's serving you and I guess your holistic growth as a person, your self-love, living in alignment, like, with, I guess it's like alignment with the universe, but it's alignment with your soul, recovering and reclaiming your authentic, your most like you at your core as a person, right? And there's so many stories. I feel like sometimes on the internet, what can happen is that a lot of the information out there, it can circulate so much and almost become like this regurgitated kind of story of like certain themes and certain points, especially if you are a person that spends quite a bit of time on the internet, and that in true spirituality we don't really need anything other than ourselves and time and quiet and space, and to a degree a little bit of like is it Maslow's hierarchy, where it's kind of like having certain base needs met, because even though your spirituality can still strike through when you are in, at the bottom of the period when we don't really have all the base needs met, it can still come through, right? It's like the universe is orchestrated in such a way that there's no real hard, fast rules, and we can't always understand, why things are happening the way that they are. But there is something to be said that when we are given the space and the time to slow down, be still with ourselves, be present and be mindful and connect with the moment and be open, like almost be safe enough that we are able to let go of fear, we can step into being, receiving from the universe. It's like stepping into that like feminine energy that can so easily be cut off when, our safety is threatened in some way, even if you could rationalize it by saying that it's minute and that it's not like a big deal, but maybe like emotional safety would still count. Okay. And if it's not that, it's like living in a very fast-paced environment or having responsibilities and just kind of ultimately taking responsibility for like the human life as we live it. And yeah, so it's like it's important to have that time to connect. And I feel like the reason why I would be a person to kind of give a message like this is because, I can very much be, I don't know, everyone's like view of me is going to be different depending on the person whose eyes are perceiving me. But I feel like on my channel, I talk a lot about crystals, and I kind of, some of the concepts that come through might be like very airy fairy. Others might be, deities and things like that. It just depends. I talk a lot about meditation and, energy healing comes up quite frequently as well. And so I very much can be, and I've got like, I do the smudging, like the sage and the Palo Santo. And these can be some kind of like key repetitious things that we see come up in a lot of people's practices are kind of across like a general like sweep. And I guess what I mean by that is that it could be very easy to just assume that I've picked like and chosen little bits of this and that of things that are kind of new age trendy, or it's like I've funneled my spirituality through that, and kind of to a degree I guess you could say that I have, but also not really. I feel like I've connected. The reason why I do the things that I do is because I've connected with them on such a deep level that they have actually genuinely, profoundly impacted me. And when I say this, I don't mean that I had a broken leg and that I held a certain crystal on it and then all of a sudden my broken leg was fixed. Not really. That I feel like if you were to have that type of view of this type of stuff, it would just it would go straight over your head. It would not give you any value. I'm trying to respect your time when we show up here, right? I post a lot. Not all my videos are going to be for everyone, and that's okay. I'm down with that. That's just part of the way that it is, right? But if you're here and if this is like something that you're kind of interested in, or you're trying to learn about your own spirituality and, this, I'm trusting that this message will find those that are in need of it, or that, it will serve in some way. It's kind of like when you step beyond like the 3D, or when you kind of open up your mind to the possibilities of more things being possible or true, or just more to life. And what is it? It's like a letting go of those self-limiting beliefs, which can be like a key fundamental kind of overlapping piece of this, like letting go of conditioning and coming back to ourselves, but also realizing that maybe things are not always as they seem, or that like you realize that you've grown up in a particular culture or like a particular society. Certain things are the norm, and there's kind of these ingrained beliefs that, from the time that we're children moving onwards, it's just part of like how we operate as a bigger part of a system. And these all most of the time serve a purpose, but they're not necessarily always true at the core. And it doesn't mean, I'm not saying that there's necessarily like a better answer to the way that society operates at large, because it's so beyond me, and it's like I'm not the person for that job. But what I mean is that we don't necessarily have to fit into the box that society would put us in or have us operate within to necessarily still be like a good person, to still have a good life, and be able to do something different. Like I'm Australian, if you can't tell by my accent, and I think my family are like 5th generation convicts. Like it was like convicts and first settlers kind of coming together. But in terms of convicts, we're like 5th generation, so we're probably similar in terms of the settlers. But there's a lot of like people, we're not really going to know because of what the record keeping was like back then, as to whether the people that I've come from, like in my bloodline, whether they were necessarily like wholesome people or not. I don't know. We wouldn't know if they were just impoverished and they were just trying to make the best of a bad situation, or just like caught up in like bad, I don't know, like wrong time, wrong place kind of thing. But all that's kind of beyond me. It's not really like where this is headed. But like my point is, they also had to endure a lot of hardships that, whatever that looked like for them, that's its own thing. I wasn't around then. This is not about being like political or anything, but I think it was only like maybe like 3 generations ago, there's like one particular side of my family were like pumpkin farmers or something. They were like very poor, and they would like literally live a whole season on pumpkins. And I see, even coming through my parents, how they still live with that like strong like mentality, and they're still in survival, and to a degree on like one side of the family line at least, there's like a little bit of generational trauma that seems to get passed down as we go, and it's like a typical thing. I'm not saying that, like, I'm not blaming everything on my parents. It's just not the way that it is. The chances are it's like just one of those things that no matter how hard you try, there's always going to be something, right? You just like you, me, we are all just human, and we're all just doing the best we can, okay? What I mean is that even if there is this generational trauma that's passed down, each generation has had to overcome obstacles that, the next generation will not have to, or something like that. Or they've put in certain fundamental changes that have impacted the generation going forward. I am, at this point in time, the most fortunate of my line, being, the most further progressed. And so we can only do what we can do going forward. And now I'm starting to get off the point of this. It's like, how do we bring this back around? It's like, it just, sometimes just being self-aware and recognizing what everyone's had to go through, there's like a grander theme or a grander scale to this. I feel like we're starting to take away too much from the reading. I just want to take a moment to kind of ground this out and just see if we can get back on track. Okay, I'm probably, part of where this was going is more the fact that I'm not saying that other people in my like bloodline or whatever have not been spiritual, because I believe at least on one side there are some that have, and I wouldn't know. And it's not something that has been talked about or anything like that. But I have more of my needs met than what the others have had. Sorry, I'm just like getting stuff come through, and I'm just checking that we're on track, because to me it feels a little bit like airy fairy, or like we're missing the point or something. Yeah, going back to that sort of, the needs met. Anyway, I feel like we're just going to take more, I might just have a look at these cards for a moment. There is an air of like not knowing what to do coming out of a period of strong restriction, like hard lessons and strong restriction, but also the restriction, it's not totally bad. Like, if you can be really disciplined, it can bring in really good things for you. Like it's kind of the difference of whether you will squander like great resources, or, if you can, so many good things can come from being disciplined. But it's like you may not have experienced having so much choice in your life before. And so it could be it could almost seem like there's so many choices that it's like, is it even real? Because we've never had these choices before. It's like something in the universe is kind of like opening this possibility up to you. So I feel like this is kind of a time where you're taking stock of things. It's not even that. It's not even really taking stock of things. Like it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. That would be like the more logical side of this. But I feel like it's like working out what matters to us. Like, what do we want? What's going to be fulfilling to us? Is there a path here that honors like self-love? And it seems to be all of these paths in some way honor self-love, but it's like, in which ways do they do that? And I feel like that's probably where this group is at this point. It's like you've closed out a hard cycle. And now that you've closed out this hard cycle, it's like you're ready to, I don't know if you guys have been thinking about different things for a while. Maybe you're opening your mind up. Maybe you've had some type of like influence come in some way. I mean, pick a cards is obviously one way that you can be, just the internet in general is a good way to kind of be exposed or discover different philosophies and meanings and different people's view on things. There's a lot of beautiful things to be gained from having this like such crazy access to so much. But it also can be hard to kind of narrow down on something. I don't feel like you're being asked to really narrow down too much. I feel like it's like a time of contemplation. It almost gives me the essence of reward and manifestation to a degree. So let's see what else we get here. Yeah. I'm just going to take more cards. Yeah, and I wonder for some of you, even if you haven't had some type of like new exposure to a different type of worldview or anything like that, or maybe, I don't know, I wonder if some of you are almost in like a bit of a groundhog kind of state, where it's like you're waking up and doing the same thing day in, day out. And it's maybe that's where this like, looking out to see what else there is. Like, that if you're going to have all these days left in your life, like how do you want to spend it, I guess. For some of you, this is actually about company and less about purpose. So it's more about like, what are the things that you would want in relationships, whether that, it doesn't matter what the relationship is. What would you want in any connection? What's like, it's almost like visualizing what a nice connection would look like, what a fulfilling, supportive, loving connection would actually look like. And there is, I don't really want to go into it too much, but we'll see what comes out in the message, because it's not really up to me. Like, I still need to kind of acknowledge it. But it seems that whoever was part of this like cycle that you've closed out, they are very like very sad, hurt, or upset or something. Like, there's that whole crying over you. So there is a potential here that this person, they're very much like grieving the situation or missing you or something like that. But it just, to me, it kind of feels like in the past. And if this is something that still plays on your feelings, that being disciplined and the repetitious like cycles of like the daily routine and whatnot is actually really fundamental in how you start this new life, or how you kind of redirect that focus. And I feel like when you do it, it's almost goes hand in hand with this like thinking about how you want your life to look. And it may feel like a bit of a boring time. It may feel like you're just kind of aimlessly wandering. It may feel like you don't have a sense of direction. Yeah. I wonder for some of you if you're being asked to try something new, but I do want to take more cards and see what else we get come through. Ooh, we nearly lost one. Okay. If you are the person who is kind of sad about the way that something did pan out after a cycle has closed over, that's a funny way of saying it. And, you know, that could be why you're looking at like what you want in these new relationships. Its spirit is just asking you to like dust it off. It's like, dust it off, get back up, keep thinking about what else you want, keep moving on, stick to your discipline, stick to your daily routines. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like water off a duck's back. Yeah, it's, I don't know, the way that things are played out. For some of you, you could have felt like you were never chosen, or you were never like, you know, prioritized or put first, or that this person never really like had their own direction, whoever this was that you were wrapped up with. They could have, I don't know, they could have just been like looking for what was the best thing going at the time. But the thing is that they're like always like that. Like, it wouldn't matter how long you knew this person, how good your relationship was. It doesn't really, I feel like Saturn can be quite loyal, but I feel like the Seven of Cups energy here could really be like, oh, what are all the options? And it's just like entertaining the options too. So that won't resonate for all of you, but for some of you it will, where it was like, I don't know. Yeah, that seems like quite specific. Anyway, I kind of want to get back to what seems like this new energy that you're in. For some, I just heard this could be like an auspicious time for some of you. But I feel like even more so, particularly if you are like a, I was going to say fixed sign, but it was almost going to come out sun sign. So the sun is associated with Leo, and Leo is also a fixed sign. We also have like Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. But as I was saying that, I was also getting Sagittarius as well. So, I mean, just because your zodiac sign or sun sign doesn't come up here, doesn't mean that this reading is not for you. It's more of an energy here, where some of you are being called to kind of be fixed on your position, or like remember the lessons of your past or something here, or having like firm boundaries or something like that, or being solid in who you are, like a staunch stance. Maybe not staunch, maybe that's too far the other way, right? But maybe just being firm, 2 feet on the ground, back straight, not changing your mind because other people want you to. I kind of get the energy that this group, you probably wouldn't. I feel like you're probably quite strong in your soul. Anyway, and so the sun, what is, it's like happiness, it's prosperity, and it's good times. But we also have the Knight of Wands, which is actually also Sagittarius as well. And I feel like even though Sagittarius is not a fixed sign, they are still very strong in their like soul. I don't know, in their character, in their demeanor as well. I just got the word flighty. So is this a new person or is this the viewer? This is the viewer. Okay, so this is you. So some of you may have, as you've come out of whatever this, old situation was, you've closed out this cycle, you're looking at like what the new kind of possibilities are and what it is that you would actually enjoy. It does seem like a much lighter energy. It seems like you're maybe more open to the possibility of new things and that you are more open to the joys in life. You're more open to the beauty of life is kind of more of a strong theme here. And it's like almost wanting to test different things and see what works for you. And like it feels like you've probably been out of this, I want to say off the market, but it's like out of the picture for so long. So some of you, this could have been like a relationship that you're in where it was like you just spent predominantly most of your time with this person, kind of invested there, and like you didn't really get out and do things for yourself or with others, or you didn't really meet a lot of people, or you haven't tried like new hobbies or something like that in a long time. Some of you, this could be like kind of rediscovering a faith, not rediscovering, it could be, just take it or leave it, right? Some of you, this is like, rediscovering, it's like having an old love rekindled in terms of like a strong interest or faith, whereas others of you, this is discovering something new. We will go full circle and we will bring it back to what I was kind of talking about at the start. I realize that this has kind of taken its own little turn here. But for some of you, it's like you finally have freedom, or you finally have the ability to operate with more independence, or to kind of just do what you want, or it's like there's something about your heart that's been opened up to kind of like follow some type of desire or go try new things. And it's like, I think that you're going to be ballsy and just kind of do it. I think that you're going to just embrace new opportunities. It's like if the window of opportunity arises, you're onto it and you're like going and doing that thing and you're going to have fun and it's going to be like good. I just heard the word wild. So for some of you, it might, be a bit like that, which would be kind of cool if that's like what you vibe, if that's what you're looking for. I mean, she's got a helmet on. I was almost like, oh, if she stacks that bike, like she might get some scuffed up knees or something. So like, I don't know, do you need to just be a little bit mindful that you don't like ride your bike too fast, or that if you like do stack it, that you've like got some type of buffered layered protection there? But I mean, take that metaphorically as you will. Some of you may be like not used to having this much freedom. So you might kind of go like really hard and fast really quickly, or you might just be like kind of flighty and you just like, oh, look over here and look over here, and you didn't really like think about it. It's not always a bad thing. It kind of comes through in a bit of a funny energy. It almost comes through in like a bit of a cute energy. I feel like some of you will kind of be people will find you endearing or a little bit coy or something during this time. So if that is in terms of like getting back in like some type of like dating market or something like that, that could be how people are perceiving you. But even if you're not, it's fine. Okay, so yeah, and I feel like some of you are like leaving this like barren time that it just seems like where you are doesn't have a lot to offer. So some of you could be going somewhere new. You could just be getting out more than what you have before. People could just be seeing you as like very attractive, ambitious, or just like ready to do something fun. Like maybe you are leaving this, if for some of you, like discipline is great, but it's good to break it up every now and again and like forget that we're not just like robotic machines that just day in day out do that same shit like every day, same shit different day kind of thing. Anyway, and it'll probably be really fun. It seems like, I don't know, it feels like a childlike wonder or exploration, or it's like maybe you haven't had fun like this for like a long time, like 10 years or something. I don't know, maybe since you're like in your 20s or your teenagers. I don't know how old you are. You probably shouldn't be here if you're under 18. I feel like a lot of this would not resonate for you if you were that young, and depending on your circumstances. I mean, everyone's life is different. For some of you, I just heard like you come up in hard knocks or something. So like you probably had to be very disciplined or regimented or something, like maybe not regimented, but like you just faced a lot of restriction and had to be very disciplined from an early age. It almost is like moving out of home early, or even if you didn't move out of home early, you're expected to contribute a great amount, or you just didn't have a lot that you could do much with. But I feel like you're coming to your time of like the gifts of Saturn, which is amazing because I feel like I'm so grateful for Saturn. I'm like a Saturn dominant. Oh, I'm not Saturn dominant. But it's in my top 3 of like, dominant kind of planets. And it's a very tumultuous relationship, but I understand it in an essence that I am much better for Saturn than I am without Saturn. And I guess what I mean by that is that the experiences that you have with Saturn, it's like restriction on so many different levels or in different experiences that you have throughout life. And to a degree, this is just going to be relative to the human experience. Like, you don't have to be Saturn dominant to have this, right? I'm aware everybody experiences challenges and all different types of challenges, and to some degree I'm grateful it was only Saturn. But it's like you experience so much restriction, but it really teaches you how to be disciplined. Like, if you don't start out disciplined, Saturn kind of teaches you discipline, right? And it kind of gives you the gift of operating in a type of freedom that only having discipline can give you, that if you don't have discipline, you don't really always have total, like, as much freedom, because in some ways you're kind of fighting like your biology, or you're fighting like your boredom, or your, I don't know, stigmas, or people pleasing, or like your environment, or social, I don't know. There is something that is like, can be very traditional and conservative about Saturn to a degree. Maybe conservative's not the right word, because it can also be totally not. Yeah, I don't want to get too lost in the sauce. Anyway, but it's like the gifts of Saturn are coming in, and there's like much more freedom. And I feel like it's like fun, or going after things that you haven't had or wanted to. It's like, it's new energy. And there could be an element of like a little bit of rebellious energy here as well, which kind of ties in with Aquarius. It's like heavily Saturn. Yeah. You could just have your mind made. I don't know. Do you have your mind made up? I feel like you're in that energy of trying to work out what those things are so that you can make your mind up. But I mean, Knight of Wands is pretty decisive, right? They just like decide, flippantly, like spare of the moment. Like, I don't know if I'd say it's intuitively, but maybe more instinctually, like, boom, let's go do that. That would be great. Okay, we want to take more cards. I don't really intend for these daily messages to like be too long or anything, but it's just kind of what's coming out, so I'm just going to keep going with it. Anyway, so this, for some of you, if we are talking in terms of spirituality, because we kind of went on this whole like roundabout tangent, it's like talking about like crystals and, I don't know, sage and all that sort of stuff, and like how spirituality will look different for everyone. It's such a personal practice, and we shouldn't really like look down upon anybody else's spirituality because it's not our path. And we all very much believe in sovereignty and people having the ability to kind of explore such like a deeply personal experience with the universe in their own ways that, is, helpful to them. And I think, I did talk about how, like, I kind of have, with my spirituality, experienced a lot on the other side of like this human life, where it's like energetically, I don't know how to explain it without kind of going too out there, but I work with crystals not because I have this like, placebo effect kind of idea in my mind of, well, if I do this and I just believe it, then it will help me. I very much am sensitive to energy and have profound meditations and epiphanies and experiences and receive messages when I work with them. And, you know, different crystals work like with different energies and can do different things. And, you know, part of those self-limiting beliefs and stuff is that maybe like it's just a shiny, pretty, expensive rock. And that we, you know, people are just attaching random meaning to it to make themselves feel better. And I'm kind of grateful in a sense that for me, being a person that has that value, that gets a lot out of working with them from time to time, that I'm born in an age where we can access them so readily, because, like, you know, however long ago they weren't so readily available unless you kind of like came about one in your travels, or were actively, unless you found a good spot, like some sort of river, creek bed, or like a, you know, kind of, what's it called when there's like a shift in like the plates of the earth, and it's like some parts of the crust kind of pop up a little bit, and then you might have a meter or two of like ground that was otherwise unexposed becomes exposed, and you can see the different layers of sediment, and sometimes in that you can kind of see some of the crystals. I know sometimes they can be found up in amongst rocks on beaches and all sorts of places, but it's like unless you were looking for them, or, you know, just like unwittingly came across them, and you had been given that, like, so what would happen sometimes, I would have a meditation, I would see a particular crystal, it was like that's what I needed to work with at that time. Imagine having to walk around for like 10 or 20 years on the earth waiting to come across a crystal that may not ever come. And so I don't know, maybe I only get these visions of crystals that I need to work with at this time because it's available to me. Maybe that wouldn't have been a thing back then for me. Maybe, you know, and it's not always that, you know, spirit will find different ways to get us to the places that we need to, where we need to be. So it's not all about that, right? You don't need anything. It's really that sitting with yourself and going within. Yeah. Anyway. So we also have Aries and Mars here as well. So we've actually got all the fire signs. So there's like, I feel, I don't know, what is this about? Have you been given direction? No. I feel like some of you may be experiencing, it's like that ownership and you being the person that is forming your own direction. But like, you may not have had a lot of, I don't want to say you haven't had control of your life, because we all do really, but like, you may have a greater sense of being in charge or taking control of things than you have before. Especially if like when you were younger, you're a bit more like go with the flow or something like that. This seems very much like you are making decisions. Yeah. Something about this experience could have made you a little bit more straightforward or very direct, where there's like no mucking around. There's no room for error or anything like that. It's very much like, this is what it is, and that's kind of it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a moment, see what else can we get. Is there anything here for the daily message that I have not passed on for the viewers? Okay, that's everything that I'm getting for you today. So I hope that this is helpful to you in some way. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that we need to say about it? No. Okay, we're done. Yeah, hopefully this is helpful to you guys in some way, and I'll see you all in another one.